Thank you. Can you grab the door? Okay, we're going to continue on talking about, oh, no wonder you can't see the screen. No. Okay. Okay, what are some strategies that you use when you're stressed out in the moment of play? Breathe. Breathe. Okay, like, oh, big breaths.
Because once I start myself starting to shake, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to strike out.
Okay, so deep breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth is oftentimes, now for some people that's actually anxiety provoking. So you do need to know, and especially those of you who have like maybe broken your nose a few times, there's no, that's not relaxing. It's a, or what happens when you have a cold, or dear Jesus, you're in Kansas at this time of season and you can't breathe, period. And so, yeah. So that's not always effective for some people, but the consistent, the slow in, the slow out, kind of that, it does, again, for the brain, bringing that parietal, but also more importantly, that prefrontal and frontal lobe back on, so that you can have the higher order thinking, so you can have perspective, so you can think, critically think, and so you can bring yourself back into present, things like that. I am going to like check my computer. Okay.
It's not chunk. Literally chunk.
Stop it.
We're not taking a chunk of something.
Hey, how about you Google the definition of chunk?
Chuck is a good show. Has anyone ever seen Chuck? Like the TV show? Oh, Hulu, that.
No, seriously, Google the definition of chunk.
Chuck is like a,
And then check.
yeah, it's like, it's only like 5 years old. Chuck, we're talking like 4 different things. It's great. Okay. Oh my goodness gracious, why is this not functioning?
You're gonna chunk it. You're not gonna chunk it. I've never heard chunk until I got to.
Okay, guys, what are some of the things that you have seen to be helpful for you in when you just screwed up, when you just made a mistake? What is helpful for you? What?
I turn around and like I look at my infielder.
Okay, the people around me.
One of them's making me laugh, usually my short stuff, and just like tell me to forget about it, or if it's a really bad pitch, they're just laughing at me.
Okay.
Makes me laugh and listen up. Or I sing in my head. I really do. I'm jamming on the mound, guys.
Whenever I do mess up, I think of my mom. Because she's saying this on A, B, C.
I think that
I've lost the class. I've lost the class.
Thank you.
I yell at
I find when I'm out.
Makes sense?
every word that's wrong.
And I'll say it.
Okay. There we go. Oh my gosh. Why is it still not freaking working? Okay.
What do you do?
Sometimes I'm like, I suck. I should suck more on this. I see a lot of
You need help?
I do this literally twice a day. I don't understand what's.
I look at my dad. Oh, I do not.
I do not want to have double bad stuff. I do better the next day.
Oh, dear Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, my dad doesn't see what happened. My dad
It is literally won't duplicate.
What was happening out there?
Okay, so one of the things with stress management, oh, of course.
Stress management.
I'm a little scared to laugh right now.
I'm really bad at laughing at that.
What? Oh, it is just literally like technology. And all of our computers just really suck. His is just way worse than mine. What? Do what? Okay, I've had my computer for 4 and it sucks. It's really bad. You should see Mr. Whitehouse's. If you move the mouse, then it moves. And he literally tried to restart and shut down 8 times this morning. He got here at 7 and he still couldn't function his computer at 8:05. So that's not a correct assessment. Oh my gosh, I'm on the struggle bus right now. But these computers do suck.
I really get stressed a lot. I was stressed the other day.
Okay, well, you guys just don't get to see the screens. That's totally fine. Okay,
I just like throw it.
but you are going to go ahead and still listen. So, even though you can't see. So you could probably get out notes and take notes because you're not going to get to see the screen. Because it will not go to duplicate, it's just extending. Okay, so part of it, what we're going to talk about today is self-talk. Okay, so self-talk being where the mind goes, the body goes. Okay, so what does that mean? When you hear the statement, where the mind goes, the body goes. Where you focus, you will follow. What does that mean in the context of your sport as an athlete? Where your mind goes, your body will go also. Or there's the statement, where you focus, you will follow. Yes, Tanner.
If you are playing like you're anxious and jittery or whatever like that, your actions would follow.
Okay. What would cause the thoughts? So my thoughts, where my mind is, I'm anxious. What would cause you to be anxious or jittery in a game or in a...
So like maybe there's a one-on-one, like, I don't know if I'm gonna go save this. I don't know. And then you hesitate for a second, yes.
especially in like overtime when it is literally all on your shoulders. Yeah. And you miss one, and then actually, can you hold on to it? Cause it's already late. So just hold on.
I told you because I print.
Well, I know we'll talk. Yeah, I know. Just hold on to it, but not during class. Yeah. Okay. Usually the mind will fail you before your body. Where do you see that? As we were just talking about working out. Batting?
Whenever you're batting.
Okay, talk to me about that.
So like batting is a good like mental aspect. So like I know like Patrick Murphy from University of Alabama head coach works on the mental aspect of batting more than the physical. Because like some people might say like it's 50-50, like 50% mental, 50% physical. So if you're not working on the mental aspect of it too, then you're getting about 50% of your reps whenever you're practicing your at bat. If you're not working on that mental aspect. So like for me, for an example of whenever I let like the mental side of me like not be as strong as it should have been, is whenever like I'm battling off the pitcher,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can feel myself start to get stressed and anxious, and I start shaking, and then I would strike out on the next pitch. I'd get out on the next pitch.
And that's huge. When you can like really notice how stress affects you, and I can really know and recognize bodily what's happening when I'm stressed or when I'm kind of like going down that, going downhill, basically, to recognize, then it's this, okay, when I recognize and see and feel my hands shaking, what can I do in that moment to kind of regain, to come back, to bring back online all of my functions, my facilities, all of that kind of stuff, to bring that in the moment. But it is important, like if you're just in a batting cage or you're doing batting practice, and what are the things that often can stress you out? Like, you know, the things that often kind of are your triggers in or a scenario, a situation. So imagining that and then holding and then like feeling that in your body, noticing it, and then practice the going to a safe place, going to a happy place, deep breathing, calm. The more you can practice, honestly, one of the best strategies for doing this is if you can have a keyword, if you can have a happy place, a safe place, and you create that and build that, and we're going to work on that next week, but going to that happy, safe, calm, peaceful place, and that you have a keyword. So in the right before you start going there, you say like serenity or peace or be still or Yahoo, whatever you want, like whatever you want it to be, that's going to enter you into that kind of a place. If you say that word before you go there, and then at the end of when you're there, say that word again, and you tie the way you feel to that word, then when you're in the midst of this and you're shaking, you can say, be still. And your brain recognizes that word and it connects to the, oh, you more will automatically go to that feeling when you can't just sit there, oh, hold on, I need to go to my happy place. Hold on just a second. You know, like you don't have time in that in a game. But when you can connect outside, but you've got to practice that outside, or when we're hitting, you know, but you've still got to practice that outside of even practice, so that in practice you can practice that, you know, but also practicing imagining, using mental imagery to what would be the stressful causing thing. Okay. And this would be how and then I'm going to calm myself, and I'm going to imagine myself literally visually calming down. And what if this was happening? The ball comes towards me and I go at it, right? And then I hit it perfectly and everything goes, and I bolt to first base. And I play that through multiple times while I'm hitting, even visually, before ball comes at me in practice. The more and more you can visually, there's a lot of, it started on, it stemmed out of a whoopsie daisies kind of research. They found out they had like these electrodes, they forgot to take off these monkeys, and they left them on, and they noticed that when the researcher came in and they peeled a banana and they ate it, it was lighting up in the monkey's brain. And they just thought, well, like, ooh, they're getting excited because they think they're getting the banana, but they're not. And then they kind of like did other things. Anyways, long story short, when they found out where the regions were in their brain, they found out that actually the researcher doing the action, they're playing it through in their head. And it's the same, it's not as vibrantly lit up as me taking the banana off, like, and opening up and eating it, but it's lighting up in the same part of the brain in the monkey of like doing. It's in the action part. It wasn't necessarily, there was a little bit in the excitement for, but it was in the doing. It just wasn't as strongly lit up. And so then they tried doing it in other forms of fashions or other things with the monkeys. They tried drawing. So they would show the monkey or so the person, the researcher drawing a circle. And then they would give the monkey this thing and they would come up and then they would do like not quite as perfect of a circle as the researcher, but it was in a circular fashion. And then they started making this connection. Well, then take neuroscience another quite a few years, and they found out, they've actually even done this study with Zumba. They did a study of women. They took one group of women that watched a Zumba, who never, both of these groups, one is a control group and one is the experimental group. One group, and none of them had ever done Zumba before. One group watched the hour-long or 50-minute Zumba video before going into and doing Zumba. And the other group didn't. They just went in straight into Zumba and did it. And as you could imagine, but those who watched it and then did it did better form. They were able to follow better. Because I'm watching you do it, I'm more likely to do and follow correctly. And so then again, come a little bit forward in a lot of taking neuroscience, what we know from neuroscience, and then putting it into sports psychology. We've actually found out that how powerful mental imagery, literally, there's no difference. So the people who watch the Zumba video, and then for someone, I'm going to close my eyes and visualize me doing the Zumba, I don't know, but the Zumba moves. If I visualize me doing them perfectly, correctly, I'm actually going to be more likely to do it even better. And so they're finding actually how powerful mental imagery is in sports psychology. So I say that, okay, so literally just sitting there in your seat, closing your eyes and imagine that stressful situation. You're at full count and your base is loaded and it's all on you. Last inning. It's your last chance. Huh? Yeah. So here you are, ready, stressed out. It's all on you. And the ball comes. And so visualizing what is like the most stressful or what is the most common. As pitchers, a lot of pitchers will do the visual imagery of balls coming at the, like flying near them and how they would respond and how they would react and getting or ducking or dropping, however they need to be and react, because especially those who've been hit multiple times and had a line drive straight to them, like, and then they become very timid around, you know, that's a real thing. Or catchers who've gotten hit with a bat, that, you know, various different things, or even batters who've gotten hit with the pitch. You know, they can kind of get a little timid, especially if it's with the same pitcher.
If someone were to get hit in the head and they're timid after, like, is there a way to work through that, or is it more of like a process of it's going to take a while before you're?
No, mental imagery is huge with that. There's also like EMDR can help a lot with that. But mental imagery can really help through that. Lessening the fear response to that and being like, I'm okay, I can do this. This is a normal thing. It's gonna happen again. And this is how I'm gonna be prepared. You know, that building that confidence side of things. But mental imagery is a huge thing, especially even with injuries. Using mental imagery to kind of overcome the injuries piece of like, you know, when I take a step like this, my knee's gonna handle. It's gonna be fine. And even imagining doing the cuts and all of the things that my body needs to do to function, and it's gonna be fine. And imagining and really also, it's not just imagining going through the motions of it, that is a huge part of it, but also what's the feeling that I'm going to get in doing that? How am I going to feel confident? How am I going to feel secure? How am I going to feel like, what's the posture I'm going to have in that moment when that happens? Does that make sense? So doing that in visual imagery is huge. The more and more you do that, and the more like, and I'm talking about not just like close your eyes, oh, see the ball coming, oh, swing. You know, it's literally, how do my feet, how are my feet planted? How does my, body feel? How does the grip, like you got to imagine like the grip. You've got to imagine, what does the shin guards feel like on my shins? What does the gloves and my hands in the gloves feel like? And we're not going to talk about the smell. But we're, like when I'm in the box, when I'm in my area, whatever sport I am and what I'm doing, I'm going to visualize my track or my, what is that called? My course. I was going to say ropes because ropes course. Because what's my course? I'm going to visualize. And how helpful is it when I know what that course literally looks like? To go, can you scout out courses?
Yeah, I usually go and run for walking courses. It kind of helps. As long as you know where the hills are.
Right. Yeah, hills and turns. But it is huge if, like, I know that, and this is going to be a difficult area because I'm going to be at this kind of mileage, and I know that I kind of get at that mile. And so I'm going to visualize myself getting to that hill or that turn and how I'm going to do that hill or that moment, right? Basketball, can we talk about after halftime? How I'm going to come out. Now I would do that as like a collective team. Like, okay, when we go out, like this is the how we're going to feel. This is what we're going to bring. This is what, like that mental imagery we have, like we could do as a team even for those moments that are coming. Does that make sense? Okay. So that is something. And again, the more detailed you can get, literally, what does the weather feel like? What does the smells, good and bad, what does who's around you, who's pitching for you, who is like on what base? The more you can literally visualize, the better, the stronger. And then when you're in the moment, I already know I have been here. I'm good. I've got this. So that is something that literally is taking time and to closing your eyes outside of practice and then implementing it in practice so that it can be almost like an immediate thing within a game situation. You can do that with tests. Those of you who have test anxieties as if there's multiple, but like it probably feels like there's multiple. But with test anxiety, you can do the same thing. What classroom are you going to be in when you take the test? Visualize you in that seat and visualize that moment in the test, and you get the test. The teacher brings it over to you, and how even visualize how you're going to take deep breaths and then letting it out, and visualize it coming. And you're reading the first. I know this. I saw it on the study guide, or I know this material. Like, what's the self-talk that you even need to do with yourself in that moment? And to become like, I've got this. It's okay. In the mental imagery, if you do the self-talk and the moment comes, bless you, then you're also, that self-talk's already going to be there and you're going to be calm. Does that make sense? Like, the more you prep yourself for that situation. But what do? We don't do that. We do, oh my gosh, the test is tomorrow. Oh my gosh, the test is like next class period. And we mental imagery it in a stressful, chaotic, worst case scenario. We do the mental imagery. We just often do it in the negative side. Okay. So also, where are we focusing? So when we screw up, right? That's our mentality. Oh, I screwed up. I failed. I messed up. So my mind is on I screwed up. I messed up. My focus is on that. So then where does your body feeling go? Where does then where I focus, I will follow. when we screw up, and we kind of go there. We're like, gosh, dang it. What's our next move oftentimes? The same or worse. And we get into a very vicious spiral. We make even worse decisions, right? So part of that is, where am I going to focus? Okay. We also, a lot of mental toughness talk, we call this time travel. Don't time travel. That would be a helpful one to write down. Don't time travel. Okay. Time traveling is because everyone is different. We oftentimes time travel in the past, or we time travel in the future. Okay. Don't time travel. And again, part of that is, where we focus, we will follow. Okay. If I focus in the past, what I just did 2 minutes ago, or that last play that we all know we can't do anything about, right? We intellectually know we can no longer do anything about what we just did 2 minutes ago. But we're going to focus on that. We're going to berate ourselves. We're going to get down on ourselves. We're going to tell ourselves all of this crap, all this negative stuff. And so when we stay in the past, or let's say also that we time travel in the future. Oh my gosh, we only have 5 minutes left. Oh my gosh, what are we going to, oh man, the time clock's going. What happens if I get back into the game? What if I'm off the bench? What if I get called back in? This whole in the future kind of a thing. And we can get into a lot of trouble when we let our minds go that direction too, because you don't have control over the next 5 minutes. You have control over right now. So put your 100 in now. Put your best forward now. Focus on now, and your body will follow now. And what is now? I understand that is so much easier said than done, especially in the moment. Okay. And a lot of, I had one player that we did put like colored, and I learned this from a mental toughness coach, put colored, like it was a girl, but so colored headband, like a hair tie thingy on her, within her laces. It was like a hot orange kind of hair tie. So it was very bright on her shoes. And so what we did was, every time that she would start to time travel, she would look at that, she would see that, and she would remember present. Like, I am here. So we trained her every time she did something to look down, because isn't that our negative? So when we kind of, we look down, and I see that, and that's my trigger. It's a positive trigger. This is my reminder of, well, all I have is right now. Focus on right now. And that brings her back to the present. I often, like softball, you can do, a lot of sports you can do this. Basketball, we use it a lot of, even volleyball can do this, but softball is really great because you literally have dirt. Soccer, like, you're kind of like, you don't have like you have your area, but there's not a line. But sometimes even just like going to an area and just like, like even physically, like that play, that's behind me. That's off the court. Even doing a physical reminder of like, I'm not there anymore, like dust off my feet, let's go again. So even if you're in your area, like whatever base or whatever position, you're in, like you can just kind of step out a little bit from it and just, it's out, it's done. And I'm here. Let's go next. Like, what's coming next? I'm ready. Does that mean? But we've got to have tangible, really physical, and whatever it looks like for you. Those are just very simple examples of what has worked for someone, every single person needs to develop theirs. I had a softball player once that would literally have the bag. She was a first baseman, and she would just like literally just stomp the base and like, I'm here, right here. Like, this is her, I'm present. And it was every, like, if she didn't catch the ball, she made a bad play, whatever her thing was. And people just thought she was getting her anger out, which is probably a good part of it. But she would just stomp on it. And that was her like, all I got is now. Refocus. I can't do anything about that. I only got now in this next play. Does that make sense? So whatever your thing is, but to maybe develop that. It can be, I know that some sports are a little bit more picky about what you can and can't have on your person. So I know that's sometimes difficult. Can you still not have any like pre-wrap around your wrist or something?
It just has to be certain colors.
So everyone has to have the same colored. I know like with basketball, you can have pre-wrap in your hair, but it all has to be the same color.
Yeah.
So, but some people will do like the pre-wrap around the wrist as a color, and that's like there, because some sports can have like a thing on their shoe, some sports can't. So, you know, what?
We can do like whatever.
You-
Once you get the calls down, where they go, you know,
Nice.
just
Nice.
like no one watches us, so we can just, we're mad at each other.
Oh.
There's a lot of, we spike each other up for a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah, you can show people that in the national. Occasionally, like, I'll take a spike just so I can mess up someone else. Like, you'll purposely have some spike in your leg, and it'll mess them up in front of you. Or you'll purposely spike them in the half. I'm done. You either get spiked or you don't.
Wow.
Over, but if they have a full team, you gotta watch it because they'll end up on you.
Wow. I never knew.
It's not, yeah, there's not really officials watching.
Yeah.
The grass is about like as tall as a door, and they ain't watching.
Why are you running in areas where there's grass on the door? Hmm? Yeah.
Well, in nationals, it was like, it was, my freshman year, like, in the high, grass was like, it was off the wall.
Man.
So no one really saw it a few times. So I got pushed out, and only a few people saw it. I lost like 100 spots. I had the game about it.
Yeah. So brutal. Oh, vicious running. Well, I would be mad. I would be an angry person if I was running that long too. But
You have no choice but to think forward.
yeah. Yeah, you can't let anger and frustration get a hold of you in those moments. I mean, it can be a motivator, like it can really push.
Then you gotta move forward right afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. Because it can be a really great motivator, or it can really like that too much adrenaline can then put you over that.
Yeah, when you pass someone, basically your mind is you gotta humiliate them and mess them up mentally. It's all you can mess them up mentally before race. That's why if you pass someone, it messes them up mentally, and then if you pass them, you let them pass them, and then you pass them a good bit,
Mm-hmm.
they aren't gonna recover.
Okay. The statement, usually the mind will fail before the body, a lot of times is the like, we give up, we stop way before our body actually would, okay, physically. We give up the grit and the mental toughness piece. That's why so many people were, especially with sports and exercise psychology, is working so much more towards a lot of the mental toughness, because we're seeing how like a lot of people have the physical ability, but they don't have the mental energy to push them to that next limit or that next level, that to push past. And again, the key to, so here's the next one, self-talk. The key to controlling the mind is self-talk. The key to controlling the mind is self-talk. And a lot of, like Tanner's internal dialogue is going to be a lot different than like Jess's, you know, but it's the self-talk. Now, yes, like Tanner might be motivated, but more like stop sucking kind of maybe stuff, but we've also, there's still, as humans, we're all going to be a more internally, it can't be, because the you suck kind of a mentality is going to eventually be a deterrent. There's got to be, now the way we encourage our own self may look different. Not just like, it's okay, you've got this. That's not really encouraging. I don't think anyone's encouraged that way. Okay. But the self-talk of, even self-talk can be like, no, focus on this. You've got this. Like, we're strong enough. I am able. Team before self, whatever self-talk, whatever area is your struggle, is something that you need to maybe more internally work on. Okay. Common uses of self-talk. A lot of it is, so here's like a common uses of self-talk is the new section. We have skill acquisition. Oftentimes when we develop skills, and the more and more we develop and we're good at what we do, then the self-talk is like, I've got this. I have swung. I have went to batting practice. I have hit X amount of balls. I know I can do this. But if I've kind of done bare minimum, that self-talk is really difficult because I actually don't know that I have it. I don't know that I'm capable. I don't know that I'm competent. You know, you think about someone who's like a power lifter. If they've just, done it for the last couple of weeks and they're going to a competition, do you think they're super confident? It's like, no, I have done this lift. I've done this lift so many times. I've done perfect form. I know the skill. I know my business. And that often helps with self-talk of like, no, you've even done this outside of practice. You've done this off the court. You've done this on the field, all this kind of stuff. I've got this. I know this. So that often helps too. Changing bad habits. Part of what helps even in self-talk is changing some bad habits. What are some of the things that kind of maybe consistently get you into a place where you're shaky, or you're messing up, or you're making a mistake? What is some of the things that are, what are the bad habits? Some of that might just be bad sleep, literally bad sleep habits. Some of it might be bad eating habits. Some of it might be bad form. Like if I think of, I'm trying to do, because all this stuff goes to also exercise adherence. And so if I'm a personal trainer and I'm working with someone and they too have to have some really positive self-talk to be able to get to the level that they're wanting, or the goals that they're wanting to get to. And part of that is changing some bad habits. Some of it, if I have bad form and I wonder why I'm not getting stronger, or why my shoulder is jacked up and my wrist keeps popping out of place. Someone may or may not have done way too many power clean and presses and didn't have the best form possible. Okay, so yeah, we won't name any names. Maybe the person with a taped wrist. But now, and now I'm going to I know myself. Now I'm going to be a little bit more cautious in doing that. Oh, I'm not going to do it for a very, very long time. Now I want to go back to the basics. How do I strengthen wrist? But that might be a part of like, but that also might be wisdom. Like I need to change bad habits of what I used to do and be capable of. I want to do it today. Even though I haven't worked out at that level we don't need to talk about how long. Too long. But I want to still do this. And so I'm going to do this because I did it 2 years ago. Okay. So changing some bad habits. Attention control, being in the present. So we've already talked about that, but reminding self to be in the present. So not time traveling. So part of that is attention to what do you have control over? Attention to control. That's also huge, especially in, well, even in yours, like you don't have control over someone else being a douchebag, right? You don't have control over unfortunately, you don't have control over your teammates as much as you would like to. Actually, freaking pass me the ball. I am completely open. How about you open your eyes? or the wonderful players who never turn around, and when they're running to the other side, they don't turn and look and run. Like, you can't control those people, but it can be frustrating, but that can really deter you, is getting frustrated at your teammates or the other people. So what do you have control over? That's all you have control over. And you have control over your attitude. You have control over what you focus on. You have control over your preparation. You have control over your ability to not to a point, like, you are athletic your athleticism to a point is your level of athleticism, right? But you can always, within your range, you can be better. You know, what is in your control in working out and putting extra stuff before or after practice, things like that. Creating mood. Hey, not that kind of creating mood, but like, why would be creating a mood important in self-talk? What would that be like? And why would that be important? Oh my goodness. I will never forget last year. Like, some people should die. Right. Yeah. Like, you know, it's amazing how many people can feed off of, and we feed off after. I mean, your guys' sport is a great example of that. You know? Oh my goodness. And I talk a lot about it, but he was a bad coach. But the coach that took over for the coach that I was assistant for, and horrible coach. And he wanted a quiet bench because in his past, he's had people who are vocal and they said not nice things. So just to curb it all, we're just not going to, I want a quiet bench. Basketball. Quiet bench in back. Possibly. Yeah. So, it was the one right before Golden. Yeah. Yeah. And it was just wants a quiet bench. Oh my gosh, you could not, how do you oomph up? Oh, can we look at professional sports right now? Have you watched professional basketball? It gets painful. Like, they just have screens with people. Yeah, and they have mock, like that's gotta be difficult to like.
At NFL games, they can only project sound up to 75 decibels. Yeah. Harley Davidson.
Right. In football and in that arena. The what? Oh yeah.
Just because a quarterback says one thing just because they have to, and the defense didn't pick up on it, and they're already jumping on the line.
Yeah.
Or it's just like
which isn't that funny? Yeah, which is funny because you think you literally have no sound. You should be able to hear me better. You know? But it's interesting. But we're used to all of this and really having to pay attention. Now, I don't have anything. And actually, silence can be very distracting because then I can hear everything. Now I can hear my dang coach. Before, I used to be able to block him out. Now I can hear him. Really distracting. But what? Perks, right? So, but that creating that mood, that energy, that, you know, isn't that why we have like cheerleaders, kind of like, woo, even if it works or not work or whatever, okay? But creating mood, and that is also with you. And we'll talk about towards the later part of the classes, but we'll talk about like different roles that people have. And like it or not, some of you have the role of the mood setter. you know? And it's like, I think especially like Tania being point, like there's an aspect of people are going to look to you to set the mood. And there's days, weeks, or something, you know, you might not feel like it, but oh my goodness, you can tell it impacts the rest of the team if you're off. Unfortunately. Yeah, no wait, no, yeah, no pressure, right? But it's like, because then she doesn't have the opportunity to have an off day, an off game, right? Or get pissed off,
That one.
right? You can't get pissed off because then everything just goes to pot. Yeah, it does maybe help you get your crap back together, right? But it also stinks. But are you that mood setter? But it is really important. Okay. Have a good rest, a good weekend, and I'll see you Tuesday.